If you're watching this video, you're probably already aware that Lewis Masonic is the world's oldest Masonic publishing company, having been serving Freemasonry since the 1800s. The document before us here isn't quite that old. It's actually a Lewis Masonic price list from 1959. And today we're going to look through this price list to see what's changed and what books are still in print now. So we can see on the front page that the focus is on Masonic rituals. And this, of course, is indeed our main focus now. The Emulation Ritual still being the most popular of our titles. If we look through the list of different editions of the Emulation Ritual, we can see that we still produce two of these, but that the small vest pocket edition, the edition that would go in your waistcoat if you were a gentleman in the 1950s, has been discontinued. But we can see that the style is the same. We still produce the ritual in a blue cloth, but the price has gone up ever so slightly. Likewise, the Braille Edition, there were some copies when I first came to the company almost 20 years ago. But this has been superseded by ebooks, which of course can be made to read the ritual out loud. The next ritual is one we don't produce anymore, which is a variation on the Emulation Ritual called the Nigerian Craft Ritual. This is actually something that we are asked for now and again, so maybe it could come back. The next product here is the Lectures of the 3 Degrees. It's quite surprising how few people are aware of these. These are the traditional lectures that accompany the 3 degrees of Freemasonry, and they are the most beautiful, informative and authoritative texts on the meaning of the rituals themselves, and well worth having copies of and performing in lodge. So the questions that Masons are asked before each of their degrees are actually drawn from these lectures, which were originally memorized. Masons nowadays are masters of memory, but in earlier times they were more so. This is still produced in green cloth and still available, but again we don't produce the Braille or the vest pocket size. We still produce the rituals for the 1st and 2nd degree and the installing master, and the cards with the questions before raising and passing. Now we can look at the other forms of craft masonry: the complete working, the Oxford Ritual, the Ritus Oxenesis, the standard ceremonies, or Muggles Gate working, revised ritual. These are all still in print and available at lewismasonic.co.uk. Likewise the same with the Scottish working. But we no longer produce the Irish working, and I've never seen a copy, so this would be very interesting to read. English ritual are still available, as are these Royal Arch rituals: perfect ceremonies, Aldersgate, complete working. It's very interesting for me to see old and new version, so I can still see that editions were being changed around in the 1940s, just as editions have done more recently. Metropolitan, Sussex, these are all on the list still. Now we're moving to some books which are actually on the Royal Arch. Nowadays we have a lot more titles than this. This historical analysis of the Royal Arch Ritual and the Antiquity of the Royal Arch Ritual. We don't have these books anymore. These are out of print, but we do have a significant number that replace them. Things like 200 years of the Royal Arch and what do you know about the Royal Arch? So do have a look online if you're interested in knowing more about the Royal Arch ritual. There's a lot more range nowadays. The marked degree, you can see that the marked degree was available, as is the Royal Arch Mariner. We still sell these, and we also sell a lot of other rituals from orders which you can join after Craft Freemasonry, after Blue Lodge online. Now, Emulation Working Explained by H. Inneman. A wonderful classic text. We don't publish this anymore, but we do have a title on Emulation Ritual which I believe is actually superior. It's called Emulation Working Today by Graham Redman, and it is a wonderful title for those who really want to perfect emulation working and would like to have definitive answers to all their questions. A Guide to Masonic Speech Making. This is actually still in print, though it has been updated. Guide and Hints for the Secretary of your Lodge. We don't have this title, but we do have the Complete Lodge Secretary, which is a up-to-date guide. And we do actually have a program for secretaries to have. Freemasonry and its Etiquette. This title is now to print, but we have a new title, again by Graham Redman, which is Masonic Etiquette Today, which is gives you guidelines as to how to deal with all situations outside ritual procedure, and is really an interesting read. So we have a book here which is Notes and Memorabilia of Freemasonry. This is no longer in print, and we've found that such titles aren't very popular nowadays. Everything that we publish has to have quite a strong focus. We can't sort of have miscellanies anymore. A drill book of craft masonry. I believe this would normally be covered by, we have handbooks for the Director of Ceremonies and the Preceptor. But I'd like to search that out and see what the drills actually are. This is probably for the Lodge of Instruction. Notes for the Master-elect. This is still available in an updated form. And now we have some Masonic Directories. These are handbooks for different officers in the Lodge. We produce various handbooks, the Emulation Working Today series and other handbooks, which you can find in a whole section of Masonic handbooks on our website. So now we come to historical texts here. We have The Genuine Secrets of Freemasonry. I've actually seen this book, and this is not so much a historical book as a focusing on the lessons. The Origins of the Masonic Degrees. We don't have this title anymore, but we do have something similar. We have over 300 years of Masonic ritual that shows how Masonic ritual was developed and all the variations. A wonderful text. A Short History of English Freemasonry. I believe that modernly you could get a Genesis of Freemasonry. This would cover this. An Outline of the History of Freemasonry for Younger Brethren. I think this would be the equivalent of a quick guide to Freemasonry, which we now have. Freemasonry, its history, precepts and objects. I think that may be the same kind of title. But we can see that though the titles have changed and research has improved, the list is still reflective of what we were doing in the 1950s. And now we come to symbolical or mystical. I think this is what we'd call esoteric Freemasonry now. And there's some very interesting things. The apocalypse of Freemasonry. This would be very interesting to see what this is about. I can't think of a modern equivalent. The perfect ashlar and other symbols. An interpretation of our Masonic symbols. This is actually being reworked for republication as we speak. with some nice illustrations. A keystone, the sidelights of Freemasonry, and the arithmetic of Freemasonry. We have a whole philosophical or esoteric section on our website which covers all areas of Freemasonry, including some wonderful new titles coming out which will really go into the lessons of Freemasonry in a fresh and modern way. You may have seen a title called Know Thyself we have already, and there's a sequel to this coming out soon. We also have a great guide to Rosicrucianism called The Invisibles. Have a look at the esoteric section. You'll see that actually we now have a lot more in this category than we used to have, which may show a change in Masonry or a change in Lewis Masonic management. Masonic law. Now, looking at this, Rule and Teach, I know that McCoy still published this, and Masonic Jurisprudence. Again, that's a McCoy title rather than a Lewis Masonic. So I wonder how these switched over at some point from one publishing company to another. McCoy and Lewis have been dealing with each other for a very long time, so maybe we were buying them in from them then. I don't know. Masonic Problems and Queries. We recently sold some of these, but I'm at the moment I'm looking at the future, and I'm really hoping that one of our star authors is going to produce a title which is very much like this. The Concise Cyclopedia of Freemasonry. Modernly we have no Cyclopedia of Freemasonry, and you can see there's another one here. So this is very interesting to see, and I'll have a look at these because I know there was a Royal Masonic Cyclopedia. I know there was a Coils Masonic Cyclopedia. I think that's still in print in America. So this is something to think about. Why is this change? Perhaps the internet has replaced the need for cyclopedias. Hymn cards are no longer produced, or ones specifically for the ladies' festivals, though we do now have a book which is the Handbook for the Freemason's Wife, which covers ladies' festivals in a lot of depth. But this Lodge Chapter music is still available if you're interested, so you can go online and get that. So we only have one Masonic book on music, and there's the order form at the bottom. So as we can see, the nature of Lewis Masonic publishing hasn't changed so much, but we have expanded. We do publish a lot more and stock a lot more. The variation in our range has significantly increased. If you compare this to our catalogue, either one of our printed catalogues or online, you can see that we probably have 6 or 7 times the number of titles that was featured in this list now. But we are holding firm to our tradition and doing our best to serve Freemasonry.